So it's running. And I'll bring up the virtual machine. There it is. Now inside the virtual machine, I'm in Canvas. If you want a minute to get into Canvas, you want to do that. I'm going to show you a couple of things. One thing is the very last assignment is the MySQL sample data and tests. So it has a couple of queries, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up all the data that I have for my version. I don't want you to wipe out your version, so we might call this show tracker 2 or something. And then I'll show you how to run these queries. If you want, you can turn that in, or you can run the queries on your own database, the one you made. See if you can run it. But I want to show you how to do the queries. And so there's only a couple of questions. There's like 5, 6. Oh, that's MySQL. It's not the one I want. So let's go back to assignments. Go down to Mongo test queries. And there's only like 4 questions or so. You can do more. I just want to give you the sense of how to run a query. So I'm going to kind of leave this here. I am going to go to Files. Can I do that? Yeah, I'm going to open Files in a new tab. In the Files, there is a file, show tracker JSON text. I'm going to open it, but you can't actually copy or paste from this. So I'll show it to you, and then I'll download it into Notepad, because as I said, you can't copy it from here. You get all sorts of errors. But I did, and you don't have to do this. Some of the designs that you turned in, different people were probably better than mine. I am pretty stuck in a relational database model. So I made a separate venue collection, a separate fans collection, a separate shows collection, and a separate artist collection, right? So I have all those different collections. You could easily, I think, and some people did, combine venue, shows, and artists. Just have a kind of a complex single one, because you just list the shows for a venue, list the artists for a show, and then you could make one single complex thing like that. I don't know which is best practice, actually. That's something I'm going to try to research, but I don't know offhand whether it's better to make one complex JSON file or several simpler ones. Anybody have a guess, or anybody worked with them? So again, my instincts are relational, so I separated them out, but it may be that they would work better all as one. I don't know. So we'll go with these anyway. I'm going to download this. Okay, and what we want to open it as is in Notepad. Notepad has the advantage that it has no non-ASCII characters. Also, you don't want word wrap. When it does the word wrap, if you insert it that way, it thinks that there's a line break and it causes errors. Okay, so I have that. I'm going to kind of minimize the background here. I might even minimize this a little bit for right now. I guess I need to turn on the zoom for this, and this may be confusing, but I'll do the magnify. I hate navigating with the magnifier on. Where did it go? It's down here. Okay, but I want to show you a couple of things. One is there is an easier way to open these, and I'm going to show you. So I'm going to the file folder. I'm going to local disk. I'm going to program files, MongoDB, server 3.4, bin, And notice there's a Mongo and a MongoD that are executable. If I double click the MongoD, it launches. It's easier to type in the command line. You could also make a shortcut to your desktop if you really wanted to from here. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to do it for the client only because this is the last time I'll probably ever use this in here. So I'm going to new shortcut. You don't have to do this, but so we need to open file location. Is this what I want to do? It's been a while since I made a shortcut. So let's go to local disk C, program files, MongoDB, server 3.4, bin, just Mongo. There's no OK there though. So I don't think that's how you do it. Oh, what I did, there it is. This is navigating with the magnifying. Here's where I go to the path. This PC, C drive, program files, MongoDB, all the way to bin and Mongo. So I have a Mongo, and if I double click that, it launches Mongo. So you could do that if you were playing with this at home and don't want to type that path in all the time. You can either go to the folder and double click those executables, which I should have realized any executable you can double click to launch. Or you can make a shortcut to them. It makes it easier than typing in the path all the time. Do you want me to go through that again? Are you in the virtual machine? Yeah. This video may have a couple holes in it. And then you can start. You should be able to go and so you go back down. So then do the longer beat first. All right. Anyone else?
Mine just keeps crashing.
Why not? So you have this little show the server. You can, that one's only show. So one of the longer see all we need is a server and one yeah.
Is it just going away?
Well, you need to start the D first.
Oh,
So go into the folder. You need to start the MongoD before you do the Mongo.
oh, these. Oh,
Yeah. Just double click it. You can make a shortcut of it if you want. Now you can double click that one and start it. So I was showing you some shortcut ways to get into MongoDB. So this is this, let me see if I can make this. This is zoomed, I think, still, right? Is it big enough to see? A little bit bigger? I'll try. I've been trying to change the fonts, and
Lower the lights.
I could try. I had trouble doing that.
Too bold.
What?
There's no too bold font.
Is that bigger?
Yeah.
You can try to lower it if you can. It seems to like it's about as low as it wants to go. I really wish, Pelican might be the best shot for them. Get rid of those two lights over the screen. All right, so we launched Mongo. And again, you always launch the MongoDB first because it's the server. And then you launch the Mongo, which is the client. It may not look like much of a client because it's just command line, but it is still a client. It's still a program that was written to interact with Mongo. So the other thing I want in the files, which we downloaded from the files, right? Which a couple of you may have missed, but I have these collections. And so what I'm going to do is put them in so that our data looks, they'll have something to query. Couple of things. As I said, I don't want you to wipe out your show tracker. So what I'm going to do here is basically use show tracker, and you can say B or 2 or whatever you want, but give it some slightly different name. I don't want you to mess up your own show tracker if you made it. So I have a show tracker 2 here. And I'm going to do db.venues.insert. And I just want to show you, now if I go to this, I have the venue. I want it to be venues, I guess. It's venues now. It was singular here. I'm going to highlight everything from parentheses to parentheses. It's basically there are 4 venues here, right? I'm just highlighting those. I'm going to copy them. And when I do this, I can paste. And I just right-click to paste. And if you need to, I can do a venues 3 and we can do it again. Right? So I wrote the 4 things. And if I do db.venues.find, and I'm actually going to do one other thing, which I didn't know the existence of until a day or 2 ago. I'm going to make it pretty. So if you do pretty, it puts it out, instead of in a blob, rows, it puts it out as kind of like a structured JSON file. So you want me to start all over on that and do it again, or do you guys got it? So we did all this stuff, right? We started the Mongo shells in the Mongo. So we got the server done. I did this as show tracker 2, because I don't want to mess up your show tracker. And then I inserted 4 venues by just copying from the thing that's in the files in Canvas. So okay, not okay. Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Just loaded this. No, mostly I've been kind of just sort of setting things up. Okay, so let me do the next one. So after the venues, I have the fans. And again, what I would do is copy from parentheses to parentheses. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to do db.fans.insert. And then I will right click and press enter. Now the way you can tell, notice, I think I showed this before, it returns a JSON file as the result. It says there's a collection of write errors, right? Which we don't have. Right, I'm not sure the difference between write errors and write concern errors. Might have to look that up. I'm not sure what the difference between them is, but it's also an empty array. It inserted 6 records. Nothing was upserted, and I'd have to look up upserted, but I think it means changing something up above an existing record. Nothing was matched. I think you can insert like only when something matches a certain value. Nothing was modified, which means changing an existing record. I think this comes whether you're doing an insert update. You can use the same JSON files. So some of these only refer to updates, and some only refer to inserts. And like removed, probably for deletes. Yeah.
Sure did be a mix of insert.
I think so, and it might be that, but I'll have to look it up before I say too much. I've read it what it was before, but I'm totally drawing a blank. Okay, so I've got fans, and I have got venues. So the next thing I have are shows. Same process. So I go down to where the prompt is. db.shows.insert. And I'll paste it again. Actually, that's missing. I missed the last parentheses. So I'll close the parentheses and insert. There's only one more, and then we'll talk about doing some queries. This is mostly just to set something up to do queries. Okay, you guys still with me? This caused a lot of difficulties in the other class, so either you guys are doing better or you're just being quiet about it.
So when I set up the Mongo, I comment on I can't see the backslash.
So you can go into music script. Music where I was just showing that. You can go into C drive, program files, on the DVD server, and start on the computer. It's just a lot easier. All right, so I'm going to insert artists. Did I copy that yet? I don't think so. Copy. So a couple of things. This is case sensitive. So if I were to search for artists with a capital A, it would return nothing. All right, so just to show you, db.artists.find, it returns nothing. Basically, it says there's nothing there of that name.
Comma.
Oh, I did a comma. db dot, thank you, artists dot find. It should just return nothing.
Even non.
I did it again. Why am I hitting the comma each time? All right. For what it's worth. Okay, so return nothing. That's what it was supposed to do. Whereas if I do db dot artists dot find, it will return all the artists. Also, and as I said, this is just if you want. It takes up a lot more screen space, but it can be more readable. There's a pretty, which will bring it out as formatted as JSON objects.
How do you bring this?
Right?
How do you get them?
I do dot pretty at the end of the query.
Oh.
So where it's dbartist.find.pretty.
Oh.
I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but this is a little easier to read. You don't have to like my music, by the way. It's whatever came to my mind at the moment. Okay, are we ready to try queries? How close people sort of set up? This is all there, by the way, so the files are there in file, you know, in Canvas, in the files. There's a, let's close this. There's a show tracker JSON text. You don't have to open it in Canvas. It would be better just to download it. Okay, so let's take that down again. Okay, and so there's this. The other thing I want to show you, I have the queries here too, if you want to follow them. Again, I would encourage you to play with the queries and try to do it with your own database as opposed to just with mine. But we can walk through and do these. I'm going to kind of do them free form, but I'll make sure I cover what's in the assignment. But that file in Canvas has all of this. And if all else fails, you could just turn this in. Okay. So as I said, I hope you play with it a little bit. So let's do a query. So let's go all the way to the bottom. So let's say I just wanted to find which artists are, so there's several that are alternative. There's a few folk rocks. So let's do rock this time. I did alternative last period. So I'm going to do DB. DB is always the current database context, right? So it'll be show tracker 2. I'm going to look under artists. I'm going to do find. I'm going to do a parentheses. And then queries are also JSON objects. So I do a curly brace, and this is going to be kind of the minimum. I'm going to say genres, colon, and we'll just do rock. I'm going to close that and close the parentheses. So this is sort of a minimal query. We're just looking for all the artists who have the genres rock in there, you know, the rock genre in there. So if I do that, it brings back Pearl Jam, Bob Dylan, and Neil Young from mine. And again, if you wanted to do it pretty, you could just add pretty. Let me kind of maximize this. And that would bring back the same 3 artists, the same information, just spread out differently. So see how it does. So we got curly brace, curly brace. It's always, the key to JSON is it's always a key value pair. Right? It's always a key value pair. The value could be an array of values, but it's always a key, which is the name of it. In this case, genres. And then the other side is the value that you're looking for. When you put it in the find instead of the insert, right, then it's telling it to go search for that in that collection. The collection being artists. Let's look for all the fans that are interested in the rock genre. So I'm going to do DB fans dot find, and let's see if I can lift that up a little bit. Is that big enough to see? Okay. Curly brace. I think it's genres and fans too. These have to match. Okay, and I'll do this as pretty. All right, so I've got Joseph Manley, Jeff Keel, and me, and Kathy Brown. All have rock in their list. Notice it's in the list of genres that they're interested in. One of the neat things about this is even though I'm only searching for one value, it will search for it within an array. Most programming languages, to look within an array, you'd have to loop through the array to find the value. But you don't have to do that loop here. It just automatically goes through the array and looks to see if there's a value that matches. So even if you have an array of values, you can still just search for a simple value like that. I'm going to do this same query again, but a little bit different. Let's say you only wanted the names and emails of people that were, so you're going to set up like an email list. There's a rock show coming up or something and you want to show, you know, you want to send out an email to all the people interested in that genre. Does that make sense? Sort of. So what I'm going to do, I'm just using the up arrow to get my last command, by the way. So I'm going to, you need to use the arrow key to go back. I'm going to do a comma here, start another curly brace, and I'm going to say name colon 1 comma email colon 1 comma underscore ID. I don't want to see the ID, so I'm going to do 0. And then I'm going to close that curly brace. Anybody have any idea what that second object does? I don't expect you to, I'm just curious. It tells me what I want to see. Right? I want to see name and I want to see email. You never have to deny something. You just have to say what you want to see. If this second braces exists, it knows that you're searching for which fields to show. So I'm basically saying, yeah, the one is true, right? I want to see name. I want to see email. The only one you ever have to explicitly say no to is the ID. The ID is always shown unless you explicitly say no. So this is explicitly saying no. Does that make sense, sort of? These queries can get really complicated. This isn't so complicated, but notice it's only showing the name and email for each of the ones that are interested in rock as a genre. Still JSON objects. Just as a side, I was playing this week when it was SQL Server 2017. It does some neat things. It'll take a JSON file, so you can take a table of data and you can output it as a JSON file. But even more neat is you can take in a JSON file and shred it into columns and rows. And it's not that hard. So it was kind of fun. So you could, make the two talk to each other. It only works with 2017 for SQL Server. They didn't have it before. Questions on that, though? So we have, the same as always find. There's other commands which we're not going to look, like there's update and there's delete, that follow the same sort of pattern. Genres is the key value, rock, so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the word rock under their list of genres. We want to see the name, that's why it's a 1. We want to see the email. We do not want to see the ID. And pretty really doesn't have much effect here, except that all of these would be one line. Okay. I am going to go back and look and see what queries the assignment had. So what artists are in a genre? We did that. What fan follows those artists? Let's see what shows exist for those artists, and that's a little bit harder. Let's see if I can do that even without cheating. Which one is which? Okay. So the artists that we got for rock were Dylan, Neil Young, and Pearl Jam, right? It's way up here. Bob Dylan, Pearl Jam, and Neil Young. Okay. So I'm going to do db dot. We wanted to find shows dot find. We want it for those artists. And I think if I do this right, I'm going to do a $sign or colon square brackets. So under artists, I need to go back up there. It's just name, right? No, it's artist. So I'm going to do artist. What I don't remember is I think I need to do I'm going to scroll back here. So I'm trying to do this without looking. If this fails, I will.
Isn't it
What?
artist instead of artist?
Is it artist? No, I think it's artist in art in the artists. The artist name is artist.
It's like it's singular.
Yeah, it's singular in that.
So we put the data in artist instead of artist.
Right, but this isn't for the. This is the key value. It's not the name of the collection.
Oh,
And we're looking. Oh, you know what? I think it is artists though in shows, right? Is it singular in shows?
singular name.
Did we do shows? I think I'm going to cheat just so I don't take forever. First of all, I'm going to do, let's just look at shows. I just want to see what's in shows. So we got show name, artist. It is singular. So db.shows.find, and I want curly brace. Let me lift that up a little bit. Pretty sure I want $ or square bracket, and not a zero or square bracket, colon, square bracket. I'm going to break the line. I'm going to do artist, colon, Bob Dylan, curly brace, comma, artist, colon, Neil Young, comma, Pearl Jam. In a relational database, you could do a join and not have to retype all this stuff. I'm going to close the square bracket. I'm going to close this. Actually, before I close that, I have to close another one of these, I think. And then the parentheses. Does that work? Yes. I'm going to, whoops. It did it all as one line there, but I'm going to put .pretty on it just to make it look a little better. So those are the shows. There's a Bob Dylan, Neil Young one at the Arena and a Pearl Jam one at the Paramount accordingly. That makes sense? The only point of this is I wanted to show you this built-in function OR. and it has a $sign. Remember I told some of you not to use $signs by your money, your price and things. $signs are reserved for function and variable names. And or is a function. Or is basically saying find it if any of these are in there, right? If there is a Bob Dylan, Neil Young, or Pearl Jam, return it. If I just said and, you know, it would only return it if all of them were there. So there's a function for and, there's a function for or. I'm not going to go in there right now, but there's a function for sum, and there's a function for average, and there's a function for dates. You know, there's a whole bunch of different functions, probably 40 or 50 of them, that will allow you to manipulate the data in more subtle ways. Okay, so I think we're almost done with the things, but we could play with this a little bit more. Is it making sense? Yeah.
Sorry, was any of that white space necessary?
No, no.
Spaces, not even between the artist and colon.
No, you can do it without. It recognizes the colon. So you don't have to have a space before or after the colon. You don't have to, at least in this, you usually don't have to quote the key if it's only one word. Right, so artist doesn't necessarily have to quote it. Bob Dylan definitely would because it's 2 words. So Neil Young and so Pearl Jam, but the artist doesn't necessarily have to be quoted. Although I've been in other contexts where it did have to be. Those contexts being like SQL Server when it's reading the JSON. It uses the quotes to delimit, I think, more than the colon. And, you know, up here where I broke it, this is just for readability. You know, it doesn't matter the way, because when I did the up arrow and the return the command, it returned it all as one. Fine. And it could easily be written that way. I think the last one on the thing was all the shows in a venue. So we could do, I'm going to do DB. So there's a venue ID. So I'm going to do DB shows dot find. And I'm just going to do, what venue do we want? Like Paramount? I think there's probably only one at each venue.
Should there be a regular place before the play place?
Yes, there should. I wouldn't notice that when it failed. So I'm going to do venue underscore ID. And I'm just going to do Paramount. Yeah. Just one sec. So I'm just going to find what are the shows at the Paramount. A lot of this is dependent on you typing things correctly, which is a problem. Now again, these kind of queries can be pre-built into a software application, so you wouldn't have to, you know, type them in a command line. Yeah.
Well, isn't that like the major way that this is implemented in Mongo?
Right.
I mean, it's really not done this way in real life. It's just a very lightweight.
So you might do it a little bit this way, but mostly what you would be doing at the command line are administrative things. Usually this would be coming through a form, right? So if you wanted to, so you would probably on a web page, what you would have for this last query is a list of venues, and you would select a venue, and there would be a button or something to say, see the shows at this venue. You'd click that button or click the text, and it would, on the web page, it would show all the upcoming shows for that venue. Now that you would probably want to make this a little bit more complicated, because you'd probably want it to be beyond the current date. All right, you don't necessarily want to see past shows, you want to see upcoming shows. So you'd have to add another criteria, you know, for the date. And I think, I don't know if you have to use an and for that. I mean, we could try doing that. Right now, all these dates, what are my dates? I have the second, the 20th, I think. So it looks like February 20th, 2017. Notice this ISO date, it's a function that turns this into a date, right? Because by default, everything in a JSON file is a string. Even numbers are strings by default. So you generally have to convert things to do math or check dates, you know, dates or things like that. That's 2, that's 1, that's 2. I don't know if I can do, I'd almost have to look it up, how to do, you know, query where you want a particular venue that shows after a certain date.
So is that you have to put it in the comma, after the comma? Or?
So it might be able to, and we could look this up. I don't know if I need like an and. So let's do db shows find. And I'm going to, let's just do the $sign and colon. I don't know if this would be an array, but let's do that. And venue ID colon Paramount. Well, actually, so yeah, Paramount. There were 2 shows there, right? It has to be spelled right. So I'm going to close the curly braces, do a comma, and I'm going to say date. Oh, but I need a greater than.
Shall we do with time?
We could do it with time. They are on different dates. One is 1 and one is 2. I am going to, it'd be nice if I could do this. I'm going to go to Mongo. And I want to go to docs, I think. And what would I want to, so I want to get to this. So there's a date. I think it's NGT and some and minute and day of the week and day of the year and hour and week. These are all, they may be useful. So let's look at just greater than right away. Yeah, $GT. Okay. So there's an example, right? So I don't know if you do it this way or not. So we want it greater than this date. So this closes that. I think I need one more of these. And that, is that right? No, square bracket. So square brackets first. And then this. Do I have the right number of curly braces? 1, 2. That one's closed there. 1, this one open, this one closed, closed, square bracket closed. I may just get errors here. No, I got it. I actually made it work. Yay. Let's do pretty. So this is way beyond anything you need to do in your assignment. But just to show you, so the and means that both these have to be true. So it's the venue ID has to be the paramount. The date has to be greater than this date. And the ISO date is a function that converts a string to a date. I'm not sure where I got that date format. But I did somewhere. And then the pretty is just to make it look nice. So the first one up there was the first. So this one is the one that's on this. One of the ones is in January. This one is in February. So you could do that. I'm sure that there's a function to return the current date. Not sure what it is, but I'm sure there is a function to return the current date. And you could just say, well, it's greater than the current date. So we could go look that up. As I said, the Mongo documentation is actually quite excellent. It's really readable. When you search for something, it almost always comes up with what you're looking for. It's like, unlike a lot of them. It's a nice setup. So this is actually, as I said, for the assignment. If you go to, let's go back to the test queries. You can do these. If you just did them on my data, I will accept that. But if you want to play a little bit, you can try it on your database. Right? I wanted you to make your database first. But you can try running these queries on yours. You'd have to adapt them a little bit. You're welcome to try running other queries, but in terms of turning things in, if you just ran these on my database, I would accept it. What I would want turned in is probably a screenshot. I probably would suggest for the screenshot that you don't do pretty, because it's a lot more compressed to do it this way. You know, it's not as nice to read, but it returns things in a way that's easier to get a picture of it. And just a few of these queries and I'll be happy. And just a picture to show that you might have done this. Does that make sense? The other as I said, on Wednesday, I will talk about security. There's no assignment associated with that. It's just for your information. Next week is our last actual full week of school. And so it will be open lab for you to catch up if you need. We actually finish early, and I think it's partially because I panicked because we started off so chaotically and I pushed you a bit faster than maybe we should have. But I'll make it up at the end by giving you time to catch up. It's not usual for this class that I end early, but we did this time. We finished all of our materials early. So I will do, as I said, a little bit about security on Wednesday, and then next week is mostly open lab. So if you are done, you are welcome to come to class, but you don't have to. So if there's any chance, hopefully you guys will come on Wednesday. But you know, if I don't see you after today, have a great holidays, which is weird to say so early. But anyway, you're welcome, you know, in class, even if you want to play with other stuff, you can come in. And if you've got things to catch up, I can help you. So, questions? The other thing that's left to do, if you haven't, is that Mongo quiz. I don't think it's too hard. Yeah. And as I said, usually it takes most of the time. There's still people that are a little behind. As I said, I think I pushed a little hard because of the chaos at the beginning of the quarter, and we made it pretty fast.
Is that Mango is good for business transactions?
No, no.
But I did false, but it's saying that wrong.
Is it? Did I put the wrong answer there?
Yeah, the last one. Thank you.
Let's look. So assignments. Actually, it might be faster to go to the Mongo quiz. So Mongo module quiz. Which one? The last one?
Yeah, the last question.
It will complain vigorously. This is hard to do in this Zoom. Oh, yeah, it says true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this one says relational databases are better for tracking business. Is that not what yours says?
Oh.
Because that one is true.
Yeah, that one is true.
Okay. So let me cancel. So I can get down there. When I change a quiz, when people have taken it, it gets really mad at me. But I have gotten questions wrong before. Because the way you set an answer is you just click on the right answer. If I accidentally clicked off but the wrong one, sometimes I don't notice it until it's too late. So you guys have any questions? I'm going.
Syntax error showing whenever I try to use one of the embedded functions.
Okay. So I will come look. But I also just, when you use one of those functions, so the and there's a.
And both the and and the or one. Tried.
So you don't put it between the things. Like you do a parentheses, curly brace, $sign and.
As far as I can tell, I've got the same exact.
I'll come look.
You, but
I'll come look. Let me kill the video. I actually think that this video will be better than the morning one.